am not really a quilter.
I don't know how you put stuff together. I didn't think this one through at all. I just said, wouldn't it be fun if we
had 9 women. None of them had quilted before.
So I decided YouTube can show you how to do an appendectomy. They can show you how to quilt. And that's how I got started.
The collaborative quilt project came about, I think, a few different ways. I had heard from Vista Del Monte in Santa Barbara that they had residents there who had decided to use up yarn that they had.
Knitters always have leftover yarn. Wouldn't it be fun if people just knit 6-inch squares and then we would put them together and make them into an afghan or something?
Immediately I said, oh wow, that sounds amazing, what a great idea. And then I think a couple other people heard. The next thing you know, we've got this whole, wouldn't it be great if all 10 front porch communities could do a collaborative quilt? And so the whole project was born.
Julie called me and said she had heard about our mask project. She said, well, since you did that with the mask, could you organize a quilt? And I said, well, I don't know how to quilt. I've never been involved in quilting at all. But I said I could do a collaborative art project.
We had a meeting out in the open air with 6 feet apart and masks on, and that got us started.
We had one person who was great at making templates. We had another who didn't even have a sewing machine, but we found out she did have the most beautiful applique.
We chose warm wishes for our pattern, find a fabric that would represent Wesley palms.
We ended up with a bunch of squares in very bright primary colors and white, and we put them together with black crocheting. It's our so-called Mondrian piece.
We decided we loved Casa di Bagnana so much that we wanted something to reflect our home, our community. So we decided on a seascape.
It's a crazy quilt square, which is just patches pieced together. And our theme is that would represent chaos. Out of chaos come order and thanksgiving.
We had chosen butterflies as our theme because we have the butterfly house here. We have the butterfly garden. And to me, they look like freedom, and they kind of remind me of ballerinas dancing in the air and the wind. I knew that people would want to get involved because at that point it was even later into the quarantine, and people were, of course, looking for something to do. Part of the reason that we moved here is because there's a very organization and feeling here, and people are very involved with each other. So if you say, we have a project, we need some help, there'll be people there. They'll be lining up.
So people started knitting, and people started coming up and saying, well, Mary, here's some squares I've made and stuff like that. As the pandemic wore on, we ended up at a meeting once and spreading them all out. And we looked at all these and we were amazed to find that we had 50 or 60 now.
When this all started happening, I started making a lot of calls to a lot of the residents who've been artists in our shows, and I was super happy that so many of them were really doing well. And I really do attribute that to the fact that they were creating.
You can get so involved in watching the news every day and thinking about how horrible things are that you need something to take your mind away.
It seems like we were all jolly and thought this was all going to be over in a couple of weeks, and now it's grinding on. And this whole project for me has been about the process of what we're doing rather than the product.
It just made me realize that how much a project does for people.
While you're working on your individual piece, you're thinking about the other people and how are these going to go together and what's my obligation to the group.
One of the quilters said to me, what are we going to do when this project is over? I said, don't worry, we'll find something else, because it was the highlight really of our day, of our week, of our months.
People of my age, I'm 85, where are the people who grew up in the 30s? And certainly then came along World War II, when everybody had to give up something, and we all had rationing, and we all did without. So I guess this period of time in our lives here has resonated with me. You didn't have a lot of resources, but you made your fun however you could.
For this Creating Meaning exhibition, what I really want is for people to come in and kind of be blown away. Like these seniors, these residents who have gone through so much and who have had so little for so long this year, that they still, persevered. They went to their kitchen table and they went to their desk and they got on a Zoom call and they pulled out this little Milagros and did some hand sewing. There are people that are saying, I didn't think I could do that anymore. And they did. It's just like that human creativity, that it has a desire to come out, and all we have to do is start.